All right, last section for Chapter 4, then you can expect a small quiz here on Chapter 6. We have Section 6.4, and we are talking about solutions. We're just talking about a little bit more on solutions. We're going to expand a little bit more. Now, when we talk about solutions, there were two categories of solutions that we talked about earlier. And one separated when being left, and one did not separate when being left. And what were those two categories called? We had homogeneous and we had heterogeneous. So here's a graph. We have matter, we have mixtures and substances, which we talked about. Then we have two types of mixtures. We have homogeneous and heterogeneous. And now you'll see here there are two types of heterogeneous mixtures. There are colloids and there are suspensions. What is the difference between a colloid and a suspension? Well, we know heterogeneous solutions, when left, are going to separate. What is the difference between the two? Well, a suspension is particles in a solution are so large that they settle out unless the solution is constantly stirred. So the particles are so large that they settle out unless the solution is constantly stirred. So think about it. Ketchup. What happens to ketchup in your refrigerator if you leave it sit there for like a week or two and then you go back and use it? Usually it separates out, right? The water rises to the top and the ketchup settles, or the tomato paste settles at the bottom, and you gotta shake it all together and put it together, right? Exactly. How about like a mud puddle? What happens to a mud puddle over time? It actually separates out, right? The mud's going to settle to the bottom of the puddle and the water will be clear. What happens if somebody steps in that puddle or mixes it up? The puddle gets muddy, right? Over time, though, it'll separate out and the mud will settle to the bottom of the puddle and the puddle will be clear again. So just a couple examples of suspension. So suspensions are particles in solution are so large that they can't settle out, or they will settle out unless it's stirred. Then we have colloids. Colloids are particles in between a solution and a suspension. So a solution, remember, holds all its particles. A suspension is so large that they settle out, and a colloid's kind of in between. So a colloid's in between a suspension and a solution. And what are some examples of colloids? Cheese, Jell-O, smoke, ice cream, aerosol cans, foam, exhaust, fog, all of those are great examples of colloids. So colloids are kind of in between solutions and suspensions. So just wanted to talk about the different types of heterogeneous mixtures, solutions, and suspensions, and give you a couple examples. But that's the end of 6.4, and this is Mr. Kleinert, and I am signing off.